On the I Love CVille Show. It's good to connect with you guys through our network in our building in downtown Charlottesville. We air this show on all social media and podcasting platforms, and it's a pleasure to talk about Charlottesville and Albemarle County in Central Virginia with you guys Monday through Friday at 12:30 on our flagship show, the I Love CVille Show. Today's program has some fantastic partners, and two of those partners we love to celebrate and champion. Charlottesville Sanitary Supply is located on East High Street, online at charlottesvillesanitarysupply.com, and it's owned by the Vermillion men, John Vermillion, Andrew Vermillion, and a third-generation Vermillion family, a family that is doing things the right and honest way. I want to talk on today's program a lot of content that is important, including a brouhaha that is blindsiding a lot of people. The Washington Post is citing unnamed sources in a investigative report that was released today. And the foundation of this investigative report by the Washington Post highlights the fact that Glenn Youngkin wants Bert Ellis to resign. This is an odd turn of events in the governor's mansion and on the Board of Visitors. Youngkin appointed Bert Ellis to the Board of Visitors. He knew what he was doing when he appointed the Atlanta businessman to the BOV. This man was loud. He was boisterous. He was opinionated. He was alpha. He was accustomed to getting his way. And now that Ellis is doing exactly what his personality profile would suggest, being the loudest in the room, being the most alpha in the room, being the most influential or attempting to be the most influential, offering commentary to legacy media like the Daily Progress, where he says on the record to the newspaper in Charlottesville that we are going to, what did he say? We're going to shred. We're going to shred all aspects of DEI. What were the three verbs he used in the Daily Progress report, Bert Ellis? I mean, he was crystal clear of what he was going to do here.
Ripped out, shredded, and terminated.
We're going to rip out, shred, and terminate diversity, equity, and inclusion. Now the Washington Post is reporting that Glenn Youngkin wants Bert Ellis to resign from the Board of Visitors. What is going on here? Is Youngkin truly trying to emasculate Bert Ellis's power on the BOV? Does this not make the governor, Glenn Youngkin, who appointed Ellis to the board, look bad? There's only, 8 months left in Youngkin's time in the governor's mansion? I want to unpack this conversation or this topic today on the I Love CVille Show. I want to highlight on the program that Eastwood Farm and Winery is opening a second location. I love Eastwood Farm and Winery. If you have yet to visit this very family-friendly winery and brewery and music venue in the Scottsville area, you're missing a gem, an absolute gem, especially families that have children. They're opening a second location as they take over the old Michael Chapp's location down Avon Extended. The Michael Chapp's business that was run out of that, what do you call, is it a tasting room? I guess it's a tasting room. It was a very short-lived experiment. I want to talk on today's program, of course, the news of Ryan Odom, officially named the head coach of the University of Virginia. We told you this was going to happen weeks ago, more than a month ago. We said Ryan Odom was going to be the head coach. We've been talking about it for more than a month on the Jerry and Jerry Show, which airs Tuesday at 10:15 a.m. on the I Love CVille Network, a show that stars Jerry Ratcliffe, the Virginia Sports Hall of Famer, who's been to 51 straight ACC tournaments and knows this program better than any. That news was made official over the weekend, a press conference scheduled for 3 p.m. today at the John Paul Jones Arena. We said, ladies and gentlemen, that the transfer portal today was going to pick up steam. We suggested that Isaac McNeely and Andrew Rohde were going to enter the transfer portal, and today they did. We've covered this story from start to finish extremely accurately. I'm hearing that Jacob Kofi is also very seriously considering entering the transfer portal. That leaves an entire roster that is in college basketball limbo, transition, or purgatory. We know Blake Buchanan last week said he was going to go to the portal. He was the first one. Then Day-Day Ames, Isaac McNeely, and Andrew Rohde. That's 4 of your 5 starters right there. Kofi is your 5th, right? Kofi and Saunders shared time. I mean, you're losing 5 basically starters right there. Ryan Odom is going to have to completely reimagine this roster. The VCU head coach is coming up Interstate 64 in a full circle moment. A young man, a head coach who grew up at University Hall from 3rd grade to 10th grade when his father, Dave Odom, was an assistant coach under Terry Holland here in Charlottesville. Now, if there's some positive news we should celebrate, it's Chance Mallory, the St. Anne's Belfield, the local boy. He announced over the weekend that he was going to make it official and come to Charlottesville. So that's positive. Chance Mallory, the 5'9" point guard for St. Anne's Belfield Academy, saying, I'm coming to Charlottesville. I got a question for you viewers and listeners. How much money is Chance Mallory, the 4-star point guard, one of the best point guards in the country, how much money is he going to get paid to come to Charlottesville and to play basketball for the Orange and Blue? I'm going to give you a comparable. James Watson and I were direct messaging about this over the weekend. Anthony Calandria, a mediocre quarterback for UVA, who has since left UVA. He's transferred out of UVA, also through the portal. Anthony Calandria last year, he was earning $800,000 a year. $800,000 a year to be a mediocre quarterback in a mediocre Atlantic Coast Conference for a losing Virginia football team. $800,000 for Anthony Calandria. Chance Mallory is one of the best point guard recruits in the entire nation. He's a guy you can build a basketball program around. If we use Calandria as a comp, and I know it's not an apples-to-apples comp because Calandria played football. If we use Calandria, however, as a comp, is Chance Mallory being paid $1 million+ to point guard this UVA team in a time of transition and to be the face of this Virginia basketball program? I mean, that's a very legitimate question. Is the St. Anne's Belfield point guard, through name, image, and likeness, earning $1 million or more a year, a kid who's a senior in high school right now, to come to Charlottesville and to lead this program and to be probably the face of the program under Ryan Odom as the new head coach? I want to talk about that on today's show. And if you're Isaac McNeely, I mean, I was disheartened. I was demoralized. I was depressed. I was disturbed that Isaac McNeely, IMAC, entered the transfer portal. But can you blame him? Can you blame the junior from West Virginia for entering the transfer portal? If you were Isaac McNeely, would you stay at a school and suffer through a rebuilding year with a new coach? Or would you enter the transfer portal and see if a top 10 team or a top 15 team, a team with national championship aspirations, is willing to give you $1 million+ or more? Isaac McNeely is not an NBA player, ladies and gentlemen. He's not the best athlete. He's not the quickest guy. He's not super tall for a 2-guard. Could he play in Europe? Perhaps. But this guy has a year of college basketball left. I don't blame him for entering the portal and trying to get paid $1 million+. Everyone's offering bags of money. And if you can go to a top 10 or a top 15 program as opposed to suffering through a rebuilding year under a new coach, can you fault the man? And how about Andrew Rohde entering the transfer portal? Of course Rohde should do that as well. Is Rohde going to be the point guard next year? Probably not with Chance Mallory. A lot to cover on the program. A lot to cover on the show. Viewers and listeners, like and share the show. Today's program is absolutely loaded. Studio camera for Judah Wickower. I want to highlight what's going on at Pro Renata, Judah. Tim, Shropshire, Cobbany night at Pro Renata on the 27th of March. Dr. John Shaven, the Pro Renata team, are building an experiential brewery. At a time where craft beer and the beer business has headwinds, look at what John and Pro Renata are doing. Live music, Judah. Live comedy events. Mm-hmm. A playground. Pizza on site. Move through ice cream on site. fire pits, cornhole. I'm hearing arcade games are coming to Pro Renata.
Nice.
They're building the Disney World of Crozet, and on the 27th of March, you can enjoy it yourself. Tim Shropshire, $10 tickets. Get a whole table for your family, guys. Get a whole table and sit with your friends and drink some great beer and listen to a nationally known comedian. Jude on a two-shot. Janice Boyce-Trevelyan, thank you for watching the program. I got 2 TV stations, radio and print, watching us on the I Love CVille Show today. Tom Stargell, Nate Kibler, welcome to the program. Stephanie Wells-Rhodes, Dan Thompson, Mike Pruitt, Chris Fairchild. A lot we're going to cover on the show. Eric Thompson. Which headline most intrigues you and why? Is it Governor Youngkin emasculating Bert Ellis's power? Is it the Washington Post being used like a pair of gardening tools, like a hoe? And I don't mean that in the sexual way. I mean, there's actually a tool called a hoe. Mm-hmm. Was the Post used by anti-Bert Ellis, the anti-Bert Ellis contingent? Is Youngkin really trying to get Bert Ellis to resign? And if so, doesn't that make Glenn Youngkin look bad? Because Youngkin appointed him. How can Youngkin be upset with Bert Ellis being boisterous or vocal or alpha or trying to assert power and influence? That's who the man is.
Yeah.
That is who he is. He's doing exactly what his personality profile would suggest. Judah Wickhauer, which headline intrigues you and why?
It's definitely got to be the odd take. It's just Governor Youngkin trying to get rid of someone who is seemingly the most aligned with what Youngkin wants to achieve.
Youngkin goes on the cable news networks less than 2 weeks ago, about a week and change ago, and Youngkin on the cable news networks is touting, I, the governor of Virginia, have led a charge of eliminating diversity, equity, and inclusion at the universities, public, and the Commonwealth of Virginia. Yeah. He's literally doing a victory lane salute, trying to clap for himself, doing humble brags for himself.
Yeah.
And this is not about the politics of DEI. I'm not making that today what this topic is about. I'm just saying that Youngkin goes on national media and is basically humble bragging that he led a charge to eliminate DEI at public universities in the Commonwealth of Virginia, and he highlights UVA. Part of the way Youngkin was able to do this was to get 13 of 17 appointments on the Board of Visitors. And of the 13 that Youngkin has appointed, the most influential, vocal, and alpha is Bert Ellis, to the point that he had a verbal fight, verbal spar, verbal fisticuffs with Robert Hardy, the rector.
Yeah.
That's how alpha this man is. Robert Hardy had to chastise a grown-ass man in the Board of Visitors meeting a handful of months ago because he said Ellis was speaking out of turn. And then Ellis clapped back and snapped back. Now the Washington Post, in a piece that was released today, the Washington Post cites 2 unnamed sources. And in its investigative reporting, it cites 2 unnamed sources saying Youngkin wants Ellis to resign. And they even laid out a path of resignation. You can say you're too busy as an Atlanta businessman to fill your duties as a BOV member, or you can say it's a health or sickness reason for your resignation.
Wow.
And Ellis, are you surprised that Ellis is not resigning? Absolutely not. This is who Ellis is. He's not going to wither like a rose bush as it heads into winter. He's not gonna crumble like a discarded bag of chips in the trash. If anything, Ellis is gonna buck up, chest out when he faces adversity. And this isn't me championing Ellis. This is me just understanding personality profiles.
Yeah.
He already went through a character assassination. When Ellis was being scuttlebutted or when Ellis was being percolated as a Board of Visitors member, The Democrats and the Commonwealth in Richmond tried to assassinate this man's character.
No doubt.
And they tried to assassinate this man's character by calling him a racist. Mm-hmm. They tried to assassinate this man's character by highlighting the fact that he used let's cut to the chase, some kind of cutting tool. I nicknamed Razor Blade Ellis. I'm not using that nickname anymore. But he used some kind of cutting tool, scissors, razor blade, whatever it is, to cut a sign off a door on the lawn that he disagreed with. Probably shouldn't have done that. Grown men shouldn't go to undergraduates' dorm rooms and cut off signs and their right to free speech. Probably shouldn't do that. He did that, right?
I don't think he actually got around to cutting it off.
Well, certainly was doing it. Certainly was trying. Can you imagine some stranger coming to your door and trying to cut off a sign off your front door? That would be an awkward, at best, scenario for you to manage, right?
No doubt.
Others would call it an assault on freedom of speech. Regardless, in hindsight, probably wouldn't do it again. But Richmond Democrats and influential and vocal leaders around the University of Virginia tried to destroy this man's character.
Yeah.
And he said, bring it. I don't mind the adversity. What is going on? And you need to start rotating some lower thirds on screen, please. Is this Youngkin looking like what? Incompetent? Weak? Afraid?
I don't know.
Or is this the Washington Post being used by Jim Ryan's side of the fence? I mean, hear me out here. I'm trying to figure out who the two... I hate unnamed sources, by the way, especially in a story of this magnitude. Washington Post cites two unnamed sources today that Governor Youngkin wants Bert Ellis to resign. Are these two sources from, hear me out here, the Jim Ryan contingent or the Jim Ryan support group? A support group that's dwindling. Think about it. They've put Jim Ryan on the clock, 30 days notice. He's on the clock. He's probably a week into that 30 days already. And they said, Jimbo, what did Bert Ellis say with diversity, equity, and inclusion? What were the verbs he used?
We're going to shred it, tear it. Let's see. Ripped out, shredded, and terminated.
We're going to rip it out, we're going to shred it, and we're going to terminate DEI. And Jimbo Ryan is on the clock. He's got 30 days. And he has to report back to us, and I'm going to hold him accountable. Is this Jim Ryan, who sees his job on the line, utilizing influence and people close to his presidency to work with the Washington Post and say, I want you to feed the Post this story so Ellis looks emasculated? Because if Ellis is not on the BOV, maybe that 30-day clock is not much of a priority. Because I can assure you, as long as Ellis is on the Board of Visitors, that 30-day clock is front and center. I was intrigued by this. I was reading Jim Bacon, as you did.
Yeah.
Bacon's Rebellion. He contributes content and perspective to the Jefferson Council. He highlighted the fact that Bert Ellis, who is an Atlanta businessman, lives 10 days a month in Charlottesville.
Yeah.
There are few BOV members that are living in Charlottesville to the tune of a third of the month. Robert Hardy, I think, is here full-time. If not here, sharing time with Richmond, but he's here quite a bit. He also happens to own Keswick Hall, right? So that's nice for Mr. Hardy. Easy place to live there if you need to.
No doubt.
Viewers and listeners would know. I believe has a resonance here. Don't hold me to that. But Bacon's Rebellion straight up said, 10 days a month, Ellis is here. Another interesting wrinkle. Bert Ellis owns the White Spot.
Yeah.
He's one of the an ownership group, the alpha, surprising, in the ownership group that owns the White Spot. He's legitimately using the White Spot, a passion project, if you may. I don't anticipate he plans to get rich flipping burgers and creating Gus burgers and grills with at the White Spot. But he goes and works at the White Spot or hangs out at the White Spot, and it's almost like his Charlottesville or UVA, how would you characterize it?
Office?
His Charlottesville or UVA confessional, where he's the priest and the students come in drunk or sober, and he's able to get fodder or feedback or analysis or a baseline, a data set of what's going on at the university? He's an enigma to me. Let me explain why he's an enigma to me, okay? UVA graduate. Is he a double who, Bert Ellis? I know he's a single who. Can you find out if he's a double who? We got a UVA grad who's in Atlanta. He's a businessman in Atlanta, a magnate, multiple businesses across multiple silos of capitalism. Successful guy.
He is a double who.
He's a double who. What is it, MBA and undergrad?
75 for college and 79 for Darden.
Okay, so this guy is a very smart person that calls Hotlanta home. And through campaign donations to Glenn Youngkin, he gets to bend the governor's ear and gets a position of influence with Governor Glenn Youngkin. And he makes donations, this double who, this Atlanta resident, to Glenn Youngkin's campaign, and Glenn Youngkin starts listening to him. Finally, he's able to persuade Glenn Youngkin to appoint him to the Board of Visitors, the people that control and drive and influence and are Jim Ryan's boss, the president's boss. These are the most powerful people at the University of Virginia, folks. He gets a seat at the Board of Visitors despite having, out of the gate before he's appointed, Judah, a character assassination attempt. And that character assassination attempt, what does Bacon's Rebellion highlight?
They say that he's depicted as a racist, as homophobic, and as a physical danger to the UVA community.
Yeah. You have Democrats in Richmond, elected officials, who are trying to kibosh Youngkin's appointment of Ellis to the Board of Visitors. And these elected Democrats in Richmond say this dude is a homophobic male, white male. He's a danger to the University of Virginia, and he's a racist, and he shouldn't be on the BOV. You can look it up on the internet. This is what they were doing.
They must be giddy now.
Or are these the people that are using the Washington Post like a gardening hoe to try to change the narrative? Let me continue here, then you jump in. This man somehow survives a character assassination attempt, the type of character assassination attempt you see on Netflix and House of Cards. I mean, is Kevin Spacey lurking somewhere here? Where's Kevin? Where's Kevin Spacey and Netflix? Where's Frank? He survives this character assassination attempt. He gets appointed to the Board of Visitors. He's the most vocal guy. He's the most alpha guy. Verbally spars with director Robert Hardy. Slams his fist on the table. Is loud. Is boisterous. He's peacocking. He talks with the Daily Progress yesterday that we're gonna shred and we're gonna tear and we're gonna destroy diversity, equity, and inclusion on the record. And now a story citing unnamed sources leaks to the Washington Post, and the Post runs with it, that Bert Ellis and Glenn Youngkin are meeting tomorrow in Richmond, the governor's mansion, and the governor wants Ellis to resign. This story, if anything, makes the governor of Virginia, Glenn Youngkin, look weak, lacking foresight, and unable to see the forest through the trees. The man he appointed to the board is the man, Bert Ellis, and the man he appointed to the board, his behavior could have been predicted by anyone. It's not about politics. This is about personality profile. We could have predicted this. How did Glenn Youngkin not? Am I reading the tea leaves incorrectly here? Judah Wickower. Viewers and listeners, we'll go to your comments here in a matter of moments. Am I reading the tea leaves incorrectly, Judah?
I don't think so. It's, like I said, I wouldn't be surprised if the Democrats are giddy about this. It seems like Youngkin is doing their work for them. It's just odd. And Bert Ellis is arguably the most effective Board of Visitors member currently. He's fought off the former board members that were elected by, or that were put in place by Northam, and he's been a bulldog.
Tenacious.
Yeah.
He's a dog with a bone, and he won't let go.
Mm-hmm.
I will not let go. He's Max, the family German Shepherd, who loves nothing more to chew and gnaw on Daddy's old Asics, his old tennis shoes, and he won't let go. John Blair, let's get some comments here. Viewers and listeners, let us know your thoughts. John Blair's photo on screen. He says, Jerry, first of all, and I agree with this comment from John Blair, giddy up and get ready. John Blair says that, first of all, I would like to see some greater confirmation from the Washington Post story before swallowing it hook, line, and sinker. Amen, brother. Amen. Second comment he makes, but there is so much focus on DEI and the Ellis situation. I just wonder how much of this alleged disconnect between Ellis and Youngkin may relate back to the health system situation. I'd love to have a little more insight from you, John Blair, on that, on how you think that the health system situation could be influencing Youngkin's opinion of Bert Ellis. Would love more information from you there, John Blair. What do you think he's alluding to there? Number
I'm
two
not
in the
sure,
family.
but I'm interested.
I'm very interested too. I'm also not sure what he's alluding to, but I'm very interested. Trust that man's opinion 100%. E.G. Williams watching the program. E.G., where are you watching? On YouTube. But where in the world are you watching, E.G.? Could Ellis's team... Well, I'm not sure what he's saying this. Could Ellis's team be doing this to the detriment of the governor's team? Offer a little more perspective on that, EG, on YouTube, please. Would love a little bit more perspective, and I would love to know where you're watching over there, the program. What do you know? What do you think, viewers and listeners? Mark Brown says, get Bert Ellis on the show. We've tried. We had the co-founder of the Jefferson Council on the show. We corresponded with Mr. Ellis. He'd have a safe, open-ended question. He watches the show. We heard from his side that he didn't like the nickname we bestowed upon him. Mr. Ellis, is this my camera right here?
Yeah.
Mr. Bert Ellis, I genuinely, sir, would offer you a forum and a platform that is open-ended with its questions, where you could answer in any way you like. I would not use any kind of shock jock tactics with conversating with you, sir. I'd have a respectful, open-ended interview with you, sir. It's an audience that is extremely large that follows our platform. I would love to invite you, sir, on this program. Please. We could do this digitally via Skype or one of the 10 days that you say you're in Charlottesville, living here as a Board of Visitors member. Just come on down. I got a full bar, maybe 12, maybe 1 o'clock's too early to be drinking bourbon, but you are a double who. And we could offer you some coffee if it's too early for some bourbon. Please, sir, come on the program. What's going to happen tomorrow with Youngkin and Ellis in their meeting? Bill McChesney says this. The first thing that triggered the character assassination was the fascist and the Nazi comments about him. Today's world, the term fascist is levied and hurled and slung at people almost as if you were calling them an idiot or a dummy or a moron.
It's definitely lost its meaning.
Fascist is akin in 2025 to call. It's everyone is calling somebody a fascist of some kind.
Yeah,
it's sad. Conan Owen watching the program. Thank you kindly for watching. And he highlights Mr. Hardy has a home in Farmington. I thought so. There's 8 months left. There's Rory Stolzenberg if you want to get a studio camera. Oh, he's walking a lot better right there. I think we're going to miss him.
Yeah, we are.
There goes Andrew Wilder, the talented prosecuting attorney. He's got 8 months left in his term, right? He's played everything to this point fairly strategic. Has he had some blunders? Absolutely. There was that, remember in the beginning of his term during COVID, there was the hotline where you can rat out people with COVID? We all thought that was a little bogus.
Yeah, definitely.
The COVID hotline was bogus, right?
No doubt.
But, for the most part, another thing we thought was bogus was how Youngkin was handling cannabis.
Yeah.
And
definitely.
Cannabis was going to this decriminalized, legal area. And
across the U.S.
And Youngkin made it more taboo and made it more, a black market, which makes no sense to me. I don't know why an entrepreneur and a capitalist and a private equity guy would want to criminalize and taboo cannabis when it's already mainstream. But for the most part, Youngkin has been who we thought he would be. It's coach speak in sports. They are who we thought they were. Youngkin is who we thought he would be, except with this and Ellis. And if Youngkin doesn't manage this carefully, it's going to backfire on him. You got a governor in Youngkin who got presidential qualities. It's odd to say that, but he has presidential qualities, the governor of Virginia, a bellwether state. John Blair says, I don't know anything about the specifics of the Youngkin Ellis, but I have heard from 3 people connected to UVA in semi-high positions that the health system situation has sent the entire university into turbulence. I just wonder if this might be a ripple effect of that turbulence. Thank you, John Blair. Collateral damage of the health system, fraud, collateral damage of the health system. The allegations that the anonymous 128 doctors, physicians have made with fraudulent billing and with medical chart changing to maintain performance standards and white-collar racketeering allegations, that is the antithesis of honor and code. That is the pinnacle of malpractice and the pinnacle of dishonor and stain on a brand. Good God, it's criminal. It's on the breach of criminal. And we're not even finished with that story.
No.
I'm very curious if the Washington Post is being used here to emasculate Ellis's power. And
that still doesn't explain Youngkin's part in all of this, though.
But they're citing unnamed sources. Do we get an official statement from Youngkin?
So
let me ask you this. Let's just consider the optics here. Washington Post cites unnamed sources. Youngkin wants Ellis to resign. If Ellis says to the governor, Glenn, I'm not resigning, dude. I'm staying on this board. Doesn't that then emasculate Youngkin and his power?
But if Youngkin is not actually asking Ellis, why would Ellis respond?
Ellis didn't respond. He offered no comment.
Yeah.
They cite a meeting that's happening tomorrow. This could really make Youngkin look bad in the bottom of the eighth inning, heading into the top of the ninth inning of his term.
I can't imagine he wouldn't nip this in the bud, though, if that was the case. If this is,
I wouldn't be surprised if we get some kind of statement.
Yeah, if this is all just.
Youngkin, Ellis is not. Do you want to do a prop bet? Do we think Ellis is going to resign?
No.
You think Ellis is not going to resign?
I can't see a world where Ellis would resign.
Same.
Unless Youngkin really does I don't know.
Would have some
Present him with
some kind of material, some kind of pictures.
I could only see it working if it was to the benefit of the school. And Youngkin made a compelling argument that, look, this is what's best, and I'm going to need you to step down. Anything other than that, anything other than saying that
a short period ago,
Youngkin
was touting Ellis.
I know,
championing Ellis.
What doesn't make any sense.
This is an absolute crazy world. Yeah. And great fodder for a talk show like this. All right, it's the 1:12 marker. We need to go to the next topic. What is the next topic? Is it Eastwood?
Let's see.
If you put the lower third on screen, there goes Billy Hunt, talented photographer.
We've got more analysis on Eat Now, Pay Later.
Okay, we talked about this on Friday's program, and it went viral, and I got significant feedback. A lot of people said you did a really good job.
Thank you, people.
Lot of feedback. A lot of people said you did a very good job, Judah. If you missed Friday's program, you missed the doozy. DoorDash is partnering with a third party with a payment system. Klarna. And they're allowing people to order food from restaurants. Mm-hmm. And if you don't have the money, you can pay in installments. You can eat now and pay later on the food you order. We did a little digging on this. If you don't pay for the food that you buy within an established and agreed upon set period of time, this is installment plans. This is like going to Kmart or a Walmart or some kind of place and putting something on layaway. You're installment planning, layawaying your double bacon cheeseburgers. You're installment planning and you're layawaying your jalapeno poppers, your pepperoni calzones, your steak and cheese sandwiches. And if you don't pay it on time, you get hit with 30% interest. Buy now, pay later on your steak and cheese sandwiches with a side of fries, a side of onion rings, and a vanilla milkshake. Your tab is $25, $30. You don't pay it in time, we're gonna loan shark you. We're gonna ding your credit and loan shark you until you pay us. We don't have any collateral because you ate the food and it's out of your body now. Mm-hmm. But what we can do is screw you. We can kill your credit. We can ding you with interest. And we can bury you in a financial hole so deep that you will never be able to buy a house, qualify for a loan, and frankly get a good rental property because they check your credit and your payment history. People are going to get ducked, quack, quack, quack on this buy now, pay later, eat now, pay later.
No doubt.
And they don't even realize it. And as Mr. Blair said on Friday's show, this is yet another, he didn't say racket, but he said business model that targets those that are on the financial margin that's going to keep them on the financial margin even more.
Yeah.
Insanity what's happening here.
Like payday loans, but for your everyday food.
It's insane.
Yeah.
It is insane.
And we all know who it's going to hurt.
The uneducated, the unsophisticated, the financially and historically marginalized is who it's going to hurt. Mm-hmm. And this is how the wealth gap is wider and how socioeconomic demos get even more established. Anything else you want to add to this before we go to Eastwood? I thought you did a hell of a job on Friday. I sincerely mean that. Try to give Judah Wickower props. I'm a passionate person. I'm often very vocal and combative on the show. I love the man dearly. He's worked at the firm for 14 plus years. Thought you crushed it on Friday. Anything else you want to offer on this one?
I will be very surprised if someone somewhere doesn't come out strongly against this in our government, because I can't believe that. What
would they come out against? How is this any different than payday loans? How's this any different than the lottery? How is this any different than a bank? Oh, you overdraft your account, we're going to charge you $36 on the overdraft and overdraft you even more.
Yeah, that's scary.
How's that any different than any other capitalistic endeavor that's out there? It's just you got the car dealership. We're not, they offer a service that sell a car to someone who can't buy a car at other dealerships because their credit sucks. Have no credit, bad credit, we don't care. 15 to 20% interest rates. But you know what? That company provides a service for people who want to buy a car. Right? Can't buy a car elsewhere. You want to have a $400 meal from the alley light delivered to your house via DoorDash and Klarna payment, and you can't afford it? Make us installment payments of $50 until the $400 bill is tapped. It's finished. But you don't pay that $400, we're going to charge you 30% interest, and we're going to ding your credit, and you're never going to be able to get anything in your life ever again. All because you ate some raw oysters and some charcuterie and some delicious steak frites. Insane.
It may end up depending on state.
It may what?
It may end up depending on state. I'm looking up usury laws, and some states have them, some states don't. Some states max.
Let me ask you this question here. This is a straight up question, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Is this not survival of the fittest?
Is this not survival of the fittest?
Is this not Darwinism?
You saying the type of people that will use this are essentially?
Is this not Darwinism?
Can you explain that a little better?
You want to use DoorDash, and you want to get on a payment plan for your bologna sandwich and your calzone and your chef salad, and you don't want to pay your payment plan on time or at all for your bacon wrapped dates and your glazed donuts and your cheeseburgers. Well, that's your doing. Whatever happens because of that is on you. Is this not how the world turns? Should we be empathetic? Do we need to have empathy for this?
Yeah.
Why? They don't have to do it.
No, they don't. But
why do we need to have empathy for this?
Because not everybody is going to look at this and see what we see.
What?
Just like
please help me understand.
Just like people use payday loans.
I don't feel sorry for people who don't read contracts and sign them. I don't feel sorry for people who don't read leases and sign them. Don't read credit card APRs and sign them. Who don't research payday loans. I don't feel sorry for people who smoke cigarettes. I don't feel sorry for people who drink. I don't feel sorry for people who go on a fentanyl bender. Should we feel sorry for somebody that's using eat now, pay later for their effing steak frites? That's why this show is great. You and I see things completely differently.
Oh, yeah.
And this man he's got the heart of gold. Anything else you want to offer?
No. I hope somebody fights this, though.
Looks like the signal's a little choppy on the show here. Next topic. What do we got on the show?
Eastwood Farm.
Kevin Yancey says this. Kevin Yancey's photo on screen, until we can somehow rein in income disparities in our society, they'll continue to dream up ways to get the little people manage. The little people poor before they can even make it home. Tell me when you have kids that are hungry and you don't get paid for another 3 days.
Yeah.
If I have kids that are hungry, Kevin, and I don't get paid for another 3 days, my kids are going to eat peanut butter and jelly sandwiches or grilled cheese, loaves of bread and peanut butter and jelly bought at the grocery store. They're not going to get DoorDash delivered. Carol Thorpe, I missed her comment. Thank you, Bill McChesney. Let me get to the Queen of Jack Jewett's comment. I like when she watches the show. She says, we may want to ponder how great is anyone's credit who has to pay for installments on a burrito. Great statement. She's saying it's already a you-know-what show for them. If they're paying $2.50 every week on a burrito from Mexicali.
Yeah.
All right. Is it Eastwood? Juan Sarmiento watching the program. He says, heroes don't always wear capes, Judah.
What does that mean?
I think he's calling you a hero. Are you referencing Judah as a hero? Juan Sarmiento very much aligns with Judah's ideology in his presentation on the show, and I appreciate that, Juan. Love when you watch the show, Juan. He says, imagine going into bankruptcy because of a steak and cheese sandwich.
Yeah.
He says, it's the consumer's fault for defaulting on the loan. Thank you, Juan. He says, I imagine the downfall for people will be multiple payment plans for different orders. 100%, that's what's going to happen. Mm-hmm. What's going to happen is they're going to set up these installment and payment plans for like a dozen orders, and that's going to be their downfall.
No, there's no way that they're going to have separate payment plans for every order that you've made.
Judah, I respectfully disagree with you, sir. Respectfully.
Okay.
Kevin Yancey, he and I see things differently, and that's what makes life great. Thank you for watching Waynesboro's Finest. Next topic, is it Eastwood?
Yeah.
Eastwood Farm and Winery is opening a second location in the former Michael Chapp's Wineworks spot on Avon Extended. This is kind of like across from where you get into the Wegmans Shopping Center, down Avon Extended. If you have not been to Eastwood Farm and Winery, you are missing a fantastic experience. Fantastic experience in Scottsville. They sell wine, they sell beer, they have a menu with food, it's a music venue, it's experiential. God, that's the word of 2025 on the I Love CVille Show, is experiential. Now they're taking over the Michael Chapp's spot. I always thought the Michael Chapp's Wineworks location on Avon Extended was a bit odd.
I think it's just a bottling station, basically.
No, you can drink some wine in there. You can have wine in there. It's like a warehouse.
Yeah.
Eastwood plans to open in May. They're going to include wines from 9 different winemakers, 9 different brands at this location. One of the things that Eastwood has done well, Pro Renata has done this well, 3 Notch has done this well. They offer not just one type of alcohol. When you go to a vineyard and winery, sometimes these vineyard and wineries only serve their wine.
Yeah.
Not everyone is a wine drinker.
Right.
If you go to a vineyard and winery and you only serve your wine, you're going to lose a portion of the paying customer base. I'll order a glass of wine, probably not. I'm not a wine guy. I like craft beer. I like margaritas.
Yeah.
I like old fashions. Mm-hmm. Pro Renata, 3 Notch, Eastwood. You have a booze menu, not a wine menu.
Mm-hmm.
That is success. That is part of this experience that the consumer needs today. If you're not offering today's consumer a reason to get off their phones and their couch and their Netflix for their commodities and their goods and their experience, you're not going to win. You need to offer today's consumer a reason to put down the phone and to order through human connection, face-to-face, in real time. Few people have success with that at a local level. And I don't get it. That's one of the things our business does well for our clients. We figure out these plans of attack. Congratulations to Eastwood. The only item I find curious of this is it's pretty close to their original spot. The original spot is 20 towards Scottsville.
Yeah.
Closer to like Monticello High School than Scottsville, though. And this Avon location is fairly close to that.
No doubt.
All right. Vanessa Parkhill giving some props here. She says Glass House in Earlysville is also a brewery now. Vanessa Parkhill, you made the program better. I didn't know that. Glass House is a fantastic spot. She says it's also a brewery now.
Interesting.
Very interesting. Have you been to Glass House, Judah?
Not recently.
It's pretty awesome. It's pretty awesome. Thank you, Vanessa. I did not know that. You're educating us. Next topic. What do you got, J-Dubs? Is this Ryan Odom?
I think so.
Okay,
Yep.
we're going to talk
It's official.
We're gonna talk about this in full on the Jerry and Jerry show tomorrow at 10:15 a.m. with Virginia Sports Hall of Famer Jerry Hootie Ratcliffe. Do not miss that show tomorrow at 10:15 a.m. But Ryan Odom's the new head coach at UVA. We said this was going to happen a month ago. We said this was going to happen a month ago. He spent from the 3rd grade to the 10th grade at University Hall. His father, Dave Odom, was an assistant coach under Terry Holland. Ryan Odom was a ball boy at University Hall for the men's basketball team for UVA. He grew up here in Charlottesville, 3rd grade to 10th grade. Ryan Odom has had success pretty much everywhere he's gone. Some will point to the fact that he's only won one NCAA tournament game. That's when UMBC beat UVA, unfortunately, the greatest upset in NCAA history. But he has won everywhere he has gone. He will have a press conference today at 3 p.m. at the John Paul Jones Arena. Some more positive news. After Ryan Odom was announced as the head coach of UVA, Chance Mallory, the point guard from St. Anne's Belfield Academy, recommitted to the University of Virginia after decommitting earlier this year. This is a 4-star prospect, Chance Mallory. One of the best point guards in the country. Someone you can build an entire program around, the 5'9" ball handler, Chance Mallory. I'm very curious to know what Chance Mallory is being paid. Everyone's getting paid now. Anthony Calandri was being paid $800,000 to be the quarterback of Virginia football this past fall. 800,000 smackaroos. The Virginia football team was terrible. Calandria was a mediocre quarterback. They played in a mediocre conference, the Atlantic Coast Conference, in front of a stadium that was half empty for home games. Half empty at best. Mm-hmm. And still, Anthony Calandria was getting $800,000 to be the gunslinger for Tony Elliott's football team. Yeah. How much is Chance Mallory making? One of the best point guard recruits in the country, a man who the entire program is going to be built around. Is this 18-year-old, 17-year-old making more than $1 million per year to play basketball at UVA? Sincere question. I would think that's probably where it is. $1 million plus for Chance Mallory to play at Virginia. Insane. Ryan Odom played college basketball at Hampton-Sydney. He was the captain of Tony Shaver's Hampton-Sydney basketball team as a senior. Ryan Odom brought Griff Aldrich as his associate head coach to Charlottesville. Griff, a lawyer, a UVA law degree. Ryan Odom's teammate at Hampton-Sydney, also a captain with Ryan Odom under Tony Shaver. He was previously the head coach of Longwood. He had a lot of success at Longwood. He quit his job at Longwood as the men's basketball coach. And now he's following Ryan Odom to Charlottesville, where he's going to be the associate head coach. I like the hire. He knows Griff. Griff also worked with him at UMBC at the time when UVA was upset by UMBC. Griff, I highlight the fact that he's a lawyer, a UVA law degree, because you almost have to run college basketball programs through the lens of a businessman now, with the name, image, likeness, and everyone getting paid on your roster. Unfortunately, Griff Aldrich, the associate head coach, probably spells the end of the era for Jason Williford, the associate head coach under Tony Bennett for a long period of time, and Ron Sanchez's right-hand person. I'm very curious what this means for Chase Coleman, Isaiah Wilkins, Kyle Guy. These guys, assistant coaches and UVA basketball players, on staff now. Are they on staff anymore? I hope somebody asked Ryan Odom this question. Will Jason Williford, Chase Coleman, Isaiah Wilkins, and Kyle Guy get a job on your coaching staff, or are they let go and no longer coaches at UVA? Someone better ask Ryan Odom that question today at 3 o'clock during the press conference. And if you're just tuning into the program, put the portal headline on screen with McNeely and Rohde. Isaac McNeely's entered the transfer portal. Andrew Rohde's entered the transfer portal. Last week, Blake Buchanan and Day-Day Ames entered the transfer portal. You got 4 of your 5 starters in the portal. The scuttlebutt we're hearing already. And folks, our radar for news in this community, our finger is on the pulse of what is going on. I have a proven track record with that in this show. We're hearing Kofi is very much considering the portal right now with an announcement that could be coming soon. That could be your starting lineup. That means Ryan Odom is going to come here and have to build this team from the ground up, from scratch. Can you blame Isaac McNeely for, with 1 year of basketball eligibility left, for leaving Charlottesville? He's a junior. He's a rising 4th year. Can you blame him? I guess he has a COVID year, doesn't he? Can you blame him for saying, I'm going to figure out if I can make $1 million+ playing for a top 10 or top 15 program? Can you imagine an Isaac McNeely playing in the SEC as a 2-guard who has a point guard that can break down defenses off the dribble and then kick the ball to the perimeter for a wide open Isaac McNeely? He doesn't have that right now at UVA. Chance could be that guy. He doesn't have that right now at UVA, though. I don't blame McNeely. I don't blame Day-Day Ames. I don't blame Buchanan. I don't blame Rohde. They're doing what's best for them and their families, just like we would do when we're looking for employment or doing what's best for our kids and our wives and our husbands. It's the world we live in. We'll talk about it tomorrow at 10:15 a.m. with Virginia Sports Hall of Famer Jerry Hootie Ratcliffe, who has been on this storyline from the jump and just finished his 51st straight ACC basketball tournament. He's a Virginia Sports Hall of Famer. Judah Wickower, on point as always. Props for Judah Wickower.
Thank you.
My name is Jerry Miller. Thank you kindly for watching the show.